Welcome to another episode of Purpose Today. I'm your host, Dr. April Dobson, and I'm very excited about my very special guest today, Dr. Stacy Smith. She is an author, a coach, and the host of Stacy Speaks Hope podcast. I'm very excited. You don't want to miss our very special guest, Stacy Smith, right after this break. Today's episode is brought to you by the Purpose Professionals community. This is a community that's designed for professionals and entrepreneurs. It will help you to align your profession with your purpose. This community gives you the tools that you need to pivot, to pursue your purpose, to develop, to grow, and to grow a business. It also has an opportunity to network with like-minded professionals. Welcome back to Purpose Today. I'm very excited for our guest, Stacy. Dr. Stacy. It is such an honor to have our guest, Dr. Stacy Smith. Stacy, welcome to the show today. It's such an honor to have you here.
It is an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And I know some of our guests may not be familiar with you. So if you don't mind, if you could please share about yourself with our guests, please.
Well, I have been in education. I am a retired educator and have come out of the professional space. My heart is to help women find the lies that they believed as little girls that have hindered them in walking into their God-given calling as adults. I have a passion for bringing that truth to light and release for healing. I am a mother of an adult son. I have a goddaughter, and her daughter I'm her nana. I've written in a anthology for women, just telling our stories, and have a workbook that goes with my podcast that helps women discover the lies. So we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, later.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing that introduction. I really appreciate it. I know one of the things that you said in your introduction is that on your podcast, you help women to discover the lies, that they've told themselves. Tell us a little bit more about that. Let's unpack that.
Definitely. What I have discovered in my own healing journey and in working with my clients is that our perception of ourselves shows up in everything we do as adults. It affects us in relationships, both with ourselves, with the Lord. It affects our physical health. I had a major health issue as a result of, I believe, internalized stress, self-imposed stress that cost me my kidneys. So I actually had a kidney transplant 17 years ago.
Wow.
Right after my son was born. So that was just traumatic. The kidney transplant didn't happen, but the diagnosis did. So I went through 13 years from the diagnosis to actually having the transplant. It was a stranger that offered me a kidney, and she is now my kidney sister.
Wow.
But it all came back to me feeling unworthy. There was an incident that happened when I was 7 years old, and a sequence of events that followed that became truth, even though they weren't. That showing up as Stacy just wasn't enough.
So, I want to make sure that we, I love to give tools and things that can help people. And I know that you had your own journey. So can you tell us about, the journey for you, getting from, the lies that you believed to knowing the truth so that you could heal? Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
The first step was paying attention to my everyday behaviors. I was very angry. I had a seething level of anger that was underneath my everyday happy-go-lucky, godly Christian woman, the whole deal. But inside, I knew there was still that rage. And I had to get curious about that. I had to go before the Lord and say, something's still not right in my heart. So it was really identifying that I don't really feel whole. There's a gaping hole. There's a disconnect in my belief, in my countenance, and in my behavior. In identifying the behavior that was out of alignment, I had to look at what was underneath that. Well, that rage that came up as a little girl when I just didn't understand what happened to me.
Right.
Exposed. Oh, that's where it started. And then when we moved, so I wasn't the only Black child in school being bullied. Now that I was around other Black kids, but then they saw me and, you talk like a white girl. You're an Oreo, Black on the outside, white on the inside. I'm like, I'm not a cookie. What are you talking about? Because I didn't even know what that meant, because I hadn't been in that environment. So it was going back to the very core of when showing up as myself was wrong, was bad, was too different to be accepted by those around me.
Yeah. You know, I'm really glad that you're sharing this, because I'm sure that there are people who are watching this episode who have had experiences, you know, where someone had said something about who they are, and, you know, that may have, you know, fed into, you know, lies and more lies that they may have accepted. So what are some tips, some actions, some things that we can do, that viewers can do, to really embrace their authentic self and who God has created them to be?
I think the first step is to get still and quiet. Journaling is a big thing. Just sometimes, and I interviewed somebody on my podcast that's a journaling coach, and it was really profound to hear her talk about, there's this conversational, dialogical type of journaling where you're writing and God, the Holy Spirit, is talking to you, and you're asking questions and hearing the responses. So I had to go into, Lord, show me who I am. Show me why I feel this way. What is this about? And in that place of vulnerability and openness is a very tangible, practical way where you're writing things you would never say out loud to anybody. You would never tell anybody those thoughts because they're so bad. And the reinforcement of, well, if I'm not okay here and I'm not okay here, then it must be me. And so to get to that truth of how you being honest with yourself, and then taking that in prayer to the Lord to get clarity. Is that true? Or has deception come in? And then that lie actually becomes the truth. And that's where we really get off, because our little girl was just trying to protect herself. And so I'm going to be tough. Don't mess with me. I'll jack you up. When I was in high school, middle school, even I used to dream about fighting. By high school, nobody bothered me because they just thought I was crazy. And I didn't care how big you were. I'm 5'4". I would take on anybody. Did not care. And they were like, oh, leave her alone because she ain't got no sense. Because we'll hurt her and she don't even know it. She's just going to come full force, because I was just that mad all the time. And it just, at a drop of a dime, I would switch. As an adult, it was there, but of course I didn't act it out. But then it internalized. And internalized rage, internalized confusion, internalized disconnect actually breeds disease, dis-ease.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, you know, I'm so grateful that you not only healed through, you know, praying, going to God, asking him to reveal to you what was going on the inside, and then journaling, you know, helping you to, you know, write things out, and then, you know, keeping that cycle of prayer and journaling and release. Did you find that there was a release that came through the process of writing?
There is a series of releases. Even when I've had a physical ailment, when I had the kidney transplant, I called it healings when it was over, because that process didn't happen overnight. From the diagnosis to the transplant was 13 years. Through dialysis, I was on dialysis for 5 years. But in that process of expectation, somebody prayed for me, and I heard in that prayer, God say, the healing is done. It might not look like it right away, but the healing is done. So here I am holding on to this word, this faith. Like God was standing in the kitchen talking to me. It was that clear. So my shift in my focus was not, whoa, woe is me. Oh, why did this happen to me? I was like, oh God, you trusted me enough to put me in this situation. There's a purpose for this, which I know is your word. And that's where we already had some excitement in just talking about. There was purpose in what I was going through. So I didn't fixate on, this is so bad, this is so wrong. Through the process of seeing, God, what do you want me to learn? What do you want me to do? And just even as I continue to move forward, even with having professional therapy, there's still that something's not right, that sadness, that emptiness, that little girl still needed a little something.
Yes.
And I had a coach as a coach. So there's always letting other people pour in and putting all that together with the Holy Spirit, making it make sense. So it's gradual. It did not happen overnight. And there were releases, and there continue to be. It's like the iceberg message. There's so much down underneath that water that's frozen down to the very tip, that there will continue to be as we release our pain, our confusion, our ways to the Lord, that we get cleaner and cleaner and lighter, and
absolutely,
release happens in that way.
Absolutely. Now, you said several things that I want us to talk about and that I want us to touch on. And, I do want to talk about, having a counselor and having a coach. But before I go there, I want to go to something you said, because I don't believe God wastes anything. And I think if we ever experience something, it may not be God's perfect will for us, but nothing happens unless God allows it. Not that God is doing it, not that he wanted it to happen, but it doesn't happen unless he allows it. And I think about Job, right? But I think you said something, and it's something that I believe. If we're experiencing something that's a challenge, if we're experiencing something that's adverse, it's not seeing things wrong. It's seeing it as, well, God had to trust me enough to know that I could make it through this on the other side. And God doesn't waste anything. Everything that happens, even something that may have been meant for our bad, God can turn it around and make it for our good. It's all about seeing things right and about shifting our perspective and shifting our paradigm. And sometimes we just don't have the ability within ourselves to do that. And we need someone else. And I know you said you had people praying for you, and you had a coach, and you had a counselor. Can you tell us a little bit about your destiny partners who helped you, to come through, a little bit about your coach and your counselor, and how you were able to, how God blessed you to be able to find them?
Absolutely. The first person I want to acknowledge is the person that prayed for me when I heard the word. And this lady was a kidney patient as well. And in that place of faith, when she prayed, God spoke. And at that point in my walk, I hadn't even heard from God like this. So it was like, I'm looking around like, oh my gosh, who's in my house? Forward, my first coach just didn't necessarily even call on the Holy Spirit and have that belief system, but it was look at things in a different way. You actually have the choice, the option to shift the way you see things. I was ready to walk off my job as the principal of a school. Schools, like we were in the beginning of the school year, end of summer. I was like, I don't want to go back. And in one weekend at an event of just seeing the possibilities that life could be joyful and purposeful and happy, and I could dream for bigger and want more for myself. It was like, oh, okay. Just something so simple, but you need somebody else to be like, okay, ding, ding, reset. That was the next thing. And then even my current therapist, the conversations that happen that are working through, how do I really see myself? And what do I hold other people to meet needs that I can only meet through my relationship with the Lord? So it's those kinds of shifts. It's looking around, looking away from myself. The thing was, I was not looking to what's happening to me. It was an intimate place of worship, an intimate place of, God, I get to trust you. I don't know how this is going to happen. And people thought I was crazy. I was like, oh no, you don't have to pray for me anymore. God's going to heal me. And they were like, girl, you lost your mind. Your baby is 2 months old. Your husband got you on the list to get a transplant. I was like, oh no, you can take me off. And he just like, girl, I don't. Yeah, he did not even, that didn't make sense. And I had to learn and realize as I walk through life being like this, that everybody's not going to get it.
Right.
It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't have to. God has said to me, nobody has to believe it but you, because I told you.
Yes. And that's the key.
It is. I'm going to stand alone in what God said, in his plan, which is for his purpose, that even maybe I've yet to fully express and understand. I'm walking into it even now, being able to do this podcast, because I had to be on the other side of healing enough to share the story, to encourage others to say, come on, take my hand, baby. You can do this. God has shown me this is even for men, because our little children, our perception of ourselves through the eyes of little children who stood up to protect us when things were happening, all kinds of things, meant the difference between surviving or not surviving. So of course it's hard to let go of. So that to me are the critical factors of knowing that there's pieces, there's components, that different roles that people play. And as I took those things back to my father, my Abba, to show me how to make it make sense, how to apply it for the greater plan that, again, that is still playing out.
That's good. That's so good. And then is there anything that you want to add about the counselor or your coach?
I think the thing about the coach, she was just unapologetically believed that you don't have to stay stuck. And she modeled. And I think that's where we lose our ability to dream. We lose our ability to hope. Hope is an acronym. It starts with healing, being open to dream and to love, because so many times when we're stuck, we don't even dream anymore. And to pursue passion and our purpose, what lights us up. I had the honor of being a principal and a teacher at an art school, where I used to tell the students at the 8th grade promotion speech every year, you are so blessed to have found your passion at such a young age, because there are adults in their 40s and 50s that are still trying to find their passion.
Yeah. And their purpose. And some people spend so much of their lives and they don't know it.
Right.
So, yeah. And studies have even shown that most people don't discover their purpose until they're over 40. So that's wonderful that you had 8th graders who knew their purpose.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Being in that kind of space allowed me to be open and to take that back as a principal, to talk to teachers through the lens of your purpose for being in this classroom. So I started coaching as a principal, just the teachers that I served. And then just from a therapist standpoint, having that alignment where trusting God was part of the opening, acknowledge and being able to look at the diagnoses of dis-ease as not something that we had to live in, not something that had to hang on to. Right? That's in my next book, On the Other Side, There is Hope. It's about one of the main things is you're not defined by your diagnosis. So never did I say forever will I be a dialysis patient or my kidneys failed. It was like, I have the story of the miracle of a stranger saying, hey, I want to give you a kidney. That's more the story than the illness part of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't even look sick or act sick when I was sick, because I was just like, yeah, whatever. This is not permanent. Okay.
Right.
Catch me on the flip side. It'll be all right.
That's good. Now I want to talk about, the change for you, because I know you said that being on the other side, having these destiny partners, someone to pray with you, a coach, the counselor, having all of these people that you started coaching as a result of that. And so can you tell, I guess, our viewers about, for you, how important you think it is for us to discover and pursue our purpose?
It's everything, in short, but in detail. We are all created for a unique purpose. There is a voice, your voice, that someone is waiting to hear. Someone needs your voice, that Dr. April and I could say exactly the same thing. Her people will hear her voice and my people will hear my voice. So that's what's so beautiful about this space, that we can come together and collaborate, and there's no competition, because the audience is destined to hear us. Those of you that haven't started a podcast and God has told you to, your people are waiting for you. Their souls are dying for you to give them the message that only you can share. And I've heard that, and I heard that even before I started my podcast and my coaching business. When I work with people one-on-one and I'm able to have a breakthrough with people I've met in one or two conversations, it lets me know that it's not really me, but me as the vessel and the conduit through which the Lord and the Holy Spirit can speak and bring release. He wants to bind up the brokenhearted.
Yes.
Everybody's heart's got a little crack or two in it, and some are shattered, being held together by Band-Aids and bubble gum. And if we just keep going, the slightest thing hits it. And that's why we have triggers, because when you get that, you get hit right on that little sore, right where the scab is, blood bursts out again.
Yeah.
Be whole and walk in healing that comes from something from the inside out.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Yes, that's so good. And, I think it's important, that we also keep in mind that, it's only God who can reveal a person's purpose to them. He's the only one who can reveal it. And I truly believe that everything that we experience, God can use it to bring us, closer to, our purpose in alignment. And so I appreciate that. Now let's talk a little bit about, your coaching. And, I know that's something that you started with God bringing you on the other side of what you experienced. So if there's someone who's watching and they're interested in the coaching services that you offer, where do they start? How do they learn more?
They can either DM me on Instagram at Stacy Speaks Hope, or my email address at hope@Stacy Speaks Hope, just to have a conversation. I also just want to give you a chance to just see what the conversation is like, to talk about what's on your heart and see if there's a connection. This is real heart stuff. And so I would give you a free coaching session to just connect and let our hearts come into alignment and see where we go from there. No pressure, just a conversation.
That's good. Now, I know you mentioned, your books, and we talked about that you're an author. Let's talk more about your books. So can you share more insight? I know you're working on another one, but can you share more insight on your books that you've already published?
The first one was, again, an anthology, Fearless Women, Courageous Women Finding Strength in the Storm. And it was just different people coming through stories of how healing, God had brought them through healing, brought them through journeys. Mine was the kidney transplant story. The next one is a No More Lies guided workbook and healing journal. And it's the step-by-step, starting with finding your little girl, identifying the lies. Sometimes our little girl is hidden because it was so bad, so scary. We just can't even remember. I talked to a lot of people and they're like, I don't remember my little girl, or I was never able to be a little girl.
Wow.
So just going back to pinpointing there, when I look at my granddaughter, she's 3 and she just walks around with just this sheer fearlessness and confidence. And it's like, if you're able to tap back into that, and I don't take it for granted that everybody is not, that was robbed earlier than even 3 for some women. And that is so sad, true. But as we go through the process of finding our little girl, identifying the lies, we cancel the lies with the truth, because we have to have that offset that allows us to be open to identify what is the purpose that God put in me that I have not been able to step into and be empowered to walk in. There's journaling prompts. There's real questions to just sit and be still with her. There's scriptures to support. There's a 30 days of just being in that purpose. And then the continuation, the whole journal part is, He will give you beauty for ashes. And that has been my message with my kidney transplant. That's what I felt like. It's like, those dead kidneys are ashes, but He gave me beauty in a woman that said, here, let me give you a kidney.
That's good.
So to have time and space to just have different prompts every day for 90 days and just walk it out. Because the pain and the trauma and the mentality that we had didn't come overnight. So it doesn't go overnight. So it's practicing that.
Thank you. And how can viewers find your books?
They can go to Stacy Speaks Hope and order the journal, and they can message me for the anthology because that was printed a little while ago, and both will send you signed copies. So we'd love to have you hear that. There's 12 women in the anthology, and the journal is just really a guide and an aid to help you walk through those questions that you don't even know to ask at first.
That's good. Now, I know you talked a little bit about the book that you're authoring. So can you tell us a little bit more about it and when viewers can expect for it to release?
You're putting me on the spot, Dr. April. That book is the healing journey of when I after my kidney transplant, I looked back and I said, wow. I remember the day when I got the diagnosis, when they said, put everything down and go to the hospital. You got to go on dialysis today. And when I looked back from that diagnosis and that healing, on the other side, everything looks so different. So the sharing of that and another medical diagnosis, that we get these things and it just grips our heart and brings us to fear. So this is an inspirational account of, if it worked for me, it can work for you. It's not just my story, but it's a relatable story for those who are in the throes of trauma, medically or emotionally or psychologically, that there is hope to be able to move forward, to walk into your purpose.
That's good. That's so good.
Next year. The more I talk about it, the more I know it's time to sit down and continue to pen it out.
That's good. Thank you so much for sharing that. And, we're excited to see your new book. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
The main takeaway is, don't be afraid to start. Even though it's scary, even though you don't see the path to freedom, you don't see the path to healing, you don't even see your purpose, you may not even remember your little girl. Trust her, because she held on and held things down for you. She is to be honored. She did what little girls know to do in that moment. She tried to keep you safe and secure. So she did her best. So there's no judgment against her. Love her, protect her, and it's time for you to shift the roles. Let her be the little girl that you console and let her go play. Because God wants to use you in your fullness, knowing that what you came through is for someone else. It's just a story to tell and to share and to encourage and inspire women who are just so afraid to even move forward. So your voice matters. The purpose is to get you to the place where you can be on the other side of the healing, to tell your story, to bless someone else.
That's wonderful. I love that. And I'm going to put your information's on the screen. So again, if anybody wants to reach out to you on Instagram, Facebook, by email, or your website, that information is there. And I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Stacy, for coming on Purpose today. It has been such a joy to have you here. This has been an amazing, amazing, amazing conversation. And I know that so many people who are watching this from around the world are going to be, blessed from everything that you've shared. And I know that you're going to go backstage, but thank you again for coming on. We're going to chat again in just a little bit. And for those who are viewing, thank you so much for tuning in. If you, for whatever reason, have something that resonated with you, we ask that you send us an email. Additionally, if you, feel that you need to make a change professionally. I know Dr. Stacy talked about how she started coaching once she made it on the other side of her experience. I do encourage you to send us an email at admin@purposetoday.com. So if you've heard something today that has helped you, that's been a blessing to you, send us an email and tell us about it at admin@purposetoday.com. And if you believe that it's time for you to make some pivots professionally, then I encourage you to send an email to admin@purposetoday.com. We really appreciate you and thank you so much for tuning in today. Again, this episode was brought to you by the Purpose Professionals community. We're very excited to invite you to join the Purpose Professionals community. If you are someone who wants to grow professionally, you feel like you need to pivot professionally, you want to connect with other like-minded professionals, we encourage you to join the Purpose Professional community. Thank you so much for tuning in to this very special episode with our guest, Dr. Stacy Smith. We thank you for tuning in to Purpose Today, and we will look forward to seeing you next time on another Power-Packed episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we encourage you to live a purpose life today and every day. Thank you so much for tuning in.